Welcome to the Korea Society's Young Professional Night and happy International Women's Day. Tonight, we are thrilled to welcome Soo Hugh, an acclaimed producer, writer, and executive producer of Pachinko, one of the most anticipated drama series of 2022. We are also joined by Ria Tobacowala, with whom Soo has launched the Thousand Miles Project. And I know many of you, like me, are eagerly waiting for Pachinko to premiere or drop on Apple TV at the end of this month, March 25th.
Yeah.
And based on the international best-selling novel of the same name, this epic series chronicles the hopes and dreams of 4 generations of Korean immigrant family. And here is the trailer.
아가 생길 끼다. 꼭 버티낼 끼다. 반드시 헤쳐나갈 끼다. 다 기억하고 싶어, 동서. 얼굴들도 상상해본 적 한 번도 없어? 다른 선택을 했다면 어떻게 살았을지.
엄마, 왜 그래요?
누가 선자 씨에게 평생 살아온 고향을 떠나서 새로 시작하자 한다면 그럴 수 있겠어요?
And people like us, we don't need to walk in our family's shadows.
지가 밤낮으로 일해가 손톱이 다 부러지고 내 아는 부족한 거 하나 없이 키울 겁니다.
절대 뒤돌아보지 마. 앞만 봐.
It's so beautiful.
It was really emotional watching on the big
Yeah.
screen.
I can't wait to see it. Seriously. So welcome to the Korea Society, Soo and Ria.
Thank you.
So great to have you here. So we have to start with the Pachinko. So why did you decide to make this series?
There's so many reasons. I think the question is why not? I mean, when you read, it's such a beautiful book, but then when you realize the promise of what it can be on a cinematic adaptation and just how big of a story you can tell to a global audience, that challenge was really exciting to me. And also at the end of the day, it's a story that I felt was really familiar. I think so many people from an immigrant background, when they read the book, tap into the story of this is my parents' story, this is my grandparents' story, and just to be able to do something really primal, it just felt like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah. And one thing that really surprised me from the very beginning, this is when you were adapting the
Yeah.
book into a screenplay or the scripts. And I was really surprised when you said that you wanted to do this series in Korean and Japanese, not in English. I mean, the book was written in English, but you wanted Korean-speaking and Japanese-speaking actors, and the whole series in those languages with subtitles. And I want to reiterate that this is before the phenomenal success of Parasite and the Squid Game. This is before when people were used to that
Yeah.
1 inch to 2 inch barrier of the subtitles. So I thought that was amazingly brave choice. Why was it so important for you to do this in Korean and Japanese language? And did you have any concerns from the Apple TV or other people who were involved in it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think fundamentally, part of the immigrant story is a horror story, right? Like the experience of moving to a country that is not yours, not knowing the language, not knowing the culture, not knowing the rules of society. To be able to really fully depict that, I think language is the crucial aspect of it. I think growing up, I remember so many times having to translate for my parents at the pharmacy, at the grocery store. So when you think about the story of Sunja going to Japan, imagine her walking in, walking out of that train station, walking into a city for the first time, and she is hearing a language that is not yours. I think you can never fully experience that unless you do the show in the languages it was intended to be in. And why hamper amazing actors, by making them speak a language that isn't theirs? That just never felt right to me. And I have to give Apple credit. I have to give all the buyers credit who bid on the project. The question definitely came up, but no one batted an eye when they said, when I said this has to be told in the 3 languages, whatever character speaks a certain language, that will be the language we will hear. And it just feels like right now is just a time for that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to hear that they were not too worried about it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's great. So the casting, you have some of the more, well-known is not even the right adjective to it, right? Actors like Yoon Ye-jung and Lee Min-ho. And again, you cast her before she was nominated and eventually won the Academy Award. There's rising stars like Jin Ha, and then completely unknown ones like Min Ha Kim, who we see right here. So what were you looking for? All actors are, I'm sure, really great. All actors are beautiful. Yeah. But what were you looking for, and what makes you go, like, as a producer, that person is right for that role?
That's a great question. I wish I had an easy answer, but so much of it comes down to just a gut feeling. This casting process for this show was tough. We had so many roles. It's an enormous cast with very, very emotionally pulling scenes. And in terms of which scenes I had the actors audition, I chose the hardest ones. So not only did actors have to audition, they had to memorize probably 3 scenes each about 6 to 7 pages. So already I think it shows you who really wants it, right? Who really wants this role bad enough they're going to memorize 20, 25 pages of lines and come prepared. And then after that, you get a feeling for different types of people, like, that's not who I didn't picture Isak that way, but this actor is really bringing something so unique and interesting to this role. And then after you narrow it down, then you have them do chemistry reads, which is really, really when you know. So for example, Minha, all of our Sunja finalists, I think there were 3 Sunja finalists. They auditioned with 3 Hanzu finalists. And you find the best chemistry. So you have incredible, incredible actors. But the question is, who has that magic touch with one another? And with Minha and Minho, they just had that connection.
You made Lee Min-ho audition for you?
He did. And
That's
he was very
amazing.
generous with his time.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, and the production, I think we have some exclusive behind the scene photos that people can watch. But the production, it was scheduled to start the summer of 2020. Yeah. And we all know what happened in the beginning of 2020. Obvious challenge of trying to do this multinational cast and crew.
Yeah.
And you were planning to shoot in Korea and Japan on location. What were the challenges?
Where do you begin?
Where do you begin? Other than that, the world was turning upside down, and given that this was going to be a very difficult shoot to begin with.
Yeah.
And
a lot of uncertainty that felt just hard to wade through. I remember the very beginning of the pandemic, March. We were doing prep It was supposed to be Japan, Korea, Vancouver. And then when the pandemic broke out, the very first thing you ask yourself is, how can I think about making a TV show when the world is just, going through hell? So it really forces you to question what it is we do. And I think it is a testament to this show and to all the people who love the show that they said, let's do it. The world needs to believe in something, right? So we had to rejigger production. I mean, our production team, they were heroes because they probably did 20, 30 production plans, right? There was a version where it was like, no, it's going to be just Korea. No, it's going to be just Canada. How do we get into Japan? Finally, we started shooting in November 2020. And we shot in Korea, half Vancouver.
Nice. You work with 2 directors,
Yeah.
And both of them happen to be Korean American.
One of the things, this is not an 8-episode series. It's meant to be.
Oh, that's right. It's the
and
first season.
First season.
Yes.
But that has been something I think a lot of people think, they're like, how are they going to do the book in 8 episodes? Like, no, it's meant to be 32 episodes over 4 seasons. We shot the first season, which is 8 episodes. Like, I had no idea what being a filmmaker was. Like, even though I love movies, I had no idea what path there was, what you need to do. I had no idea even what jobs there were. I didn't even know, like, I thought a director did everything. And I think now information is power, right? And that's something Hansu always says, right? If the more you know, the more you set yourself up for success.
So we started with Pachinko, so I kind of want to end with Pachinko a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your favorite memory from making Pachinko?
I have so many.
Yeah.
There's one scene that's an end of episode 3, and it's between Sunja and Isak, and it's when he proposes to her. And it was near the end of our Korea shoot. I think it was like the 3rd to last day of Korea. And already I was feeling very sad about leaving Korea. It was such an amazing experience shooting there in my homeland. And I'm behind the monitor, and Isak is asking her, like, could you leave your homeland? Could you, if someone else were to ask you? And just watching both Steve and Minha's performance. I mean, these are words on a page, right? I mean, that's all they are. And then you hear them being delivered by these actors, and I'm just sobbing behind the monitor. Like, I just couldn't stop crying. And I remember 2 people, Hansel and Richard, came up to me, and they were like, are you okay? And just giving me tissues, just feeding me tissues throughout the whole scene.
And what's next? Do you want to just take a break for a while?
I think, hopefully season 2. But I just want people to watch season 1.
Yeah. And I'm sure they will, because it's absolutely gorgeous. And,
Thank you.
And so that's all we have. Thanks again for joining us, and good night.